top tips to optimize your cholesterol, and in addition to the top 10 tips to optimize cholesterol, I'll talk a little bit about the media's kind of debacle with the fish oil and prostate cancer too at the end, since we get a lot of comments and questions in regards to that as well. First of all, I'll start with just everybody understanding and knowing what their cholesterol levels should be in the different components of cholesterol. The total cholesterol really doesn't tell you anything. I put less than 190 up there just so people really quit asking the question, because the total cholesterol, and I'll explain on the next slide or the next couple of slides why it really doesn't tell you much of anything. What you really want to look at is what your HDL cholesterol, which is your good cholesterol, or your LDL cholesterol, which is your bad cholesterol, or your triglycerides. Those are the three cholesterol values that you want to know and you want to get in range. If those three are in range, it doesn't really matter what your total cholesterol is. So HDL, it's the high-density lipoprotein, and I like to think of it as high, it's happy, so you want more of it. It's your good cholesterol. And in men, we want it above 45, and in women, we'd like it above 55. The higher, the better. The higher, the more heart protection you have or health protection you have. LDL is your bad cholesterol. I like to think of it as low-density lipoprotein, so it's less. You want low amounts of it. And for people with heart disease or people with diabetes or people with carotid artery disease or people with aneurysm, even people with peripheral vascular disease, that's in their legs. A lot of smokers actually have peripheral vascular disease, so it hurts when you walk. It's relieved with rest. When you even have peripheral vascular disease, we want your LDL, your bad cholesterol, less than 70. If you have 2 or more risk factors for heart disease, we'd like to see it less than 100. And if you have 1 risk factor for heart disease, 0 to 1, we'd like to see it under 130. And then for everybody, on your triglyceride levels, triglycerides are also a form of bad fat. And when you look at I hope some of you have gotten your old values out or recent values out, and you can kind of look and compare them, because triglycerides, all that is how much carbohydrates and sugars that you've consumed 3 or 4 days before the test. So triglycerides should be less than 150 for all of us. In fact, that's the national guidelines, but you're better if you can even get it under 100. So we're going to talk about all HDL, LDL, and triglycerides by themselves in more detail. First of all, on the cholesterol equation, a lot of people like to say, well, how do the numbers add up? So your total cholesterol is actually your good cholesterol plus your bad cholesterol plus triglycerides divided by 5. So it's HDL plus LDL plus triglycerides divided by 5. Now, if your triglycerides are, above 250, 300, the equation is not, you can't, your LDL is going to be very low because you've got so many bad fats in your triglycerides. It's completely, the equation is completely null and void when you have higher triglycerides. But for the most part, when you don't have high triglycerides, that's how the numbers add up. And this is an example of 2 people with a total cholesterol of 200. And both of these individuals are women with 2 or more risk factors for heart disease. So on the first line here of total cholesterol, this woman's HDL is 80. And in women, if you remember from the previous slide, the HDL in women, we went above 55, and then men, we went above 45. So this lady has an HDL of 80, so that's considered a good HDL. She has 2 or more risks for heart disease, so we want her LDL under 100. So this LDL of 95 is excellent. And patient's cholesterol, we would say, wow, this is excellent. She's got a good profile, even though her total cholesterol is 200. So here's another total cholesterol of 200, and it's a woman with 2 or more risk factors for heart disease. Her HDL is 35. Well, that's bad because in women, the higher the better for women or men, and we want it above 55 in women. So her HDL is low. She has 2 or more risk factors for heart disease, so we want her LDL under 100. so her LDL is bad. And for everybody, we want triglycerides under 150, and so her triglycerides are bad. So all three numbers are not in line. So in this scenario, where the total cholesterol is 200, this person's at risk, versus in the first scenario here, this person's pretty healthy. So that's just an example how when someone stops me and says, hey, Becky, my total cholesterol is this, is that good or bad? I really don't know. You really need to look at what your HDL, LDL, and triglycerides are. So I do encourage you when you get done with either when I hope you have it in front of you, but if not, when you get done with the seminar, to even go, or webinar, go back and look at what your HDL, LDL, and triglycerides are, and you'll kind of know what you were doing in life at the time. Were you on vacation? Were you not exercising? You'll have a better idea of how to look at your cholesterol and know what you need to do based upon the numbers that you see. It's interesting when we talk first about just cholesterol in general, that we have really shot up as a nation with what our total cholesterol is. In fact, it's interesting, it took us 2.5 million years to genetically modify, from this person, to this person. But in the last 50, 60 years, it's amazing, that we have learned that we could push a button, we can, have over 2,000 calories delivered to our doorstep, exert no energy, and have that consumed within 10 to 15 minutes. And therefore, now we have the problems we have, and we look like this today because that's not how we're genetically designed to be. We're designed to actually hunt and gather our food, eat foods that we hunt and gather. We exert energy to get the food, and now we have issues with cholesterol. If we look at hunter-gatherer humans throughout the world today, people that still live a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, meaning that they eat foods that they hunt and gather. And if you look at the Hazdas, the Pygmies, the Inuits, their total cholesterol, so I'm not talking about their LDL or bad cholesterol, I'm just talking about their total cholesterol, 140, 100, 110. And then if we look at some wild primates, you got baboons and monkeys coming in with total cholesterol of 110 and 140. And what's really interesting is on the next slide, we'll look at mammals, and mammals for which I would think would have weight issues. Their total cholesterol for a pig, this isn't the bad LDL, this is the total cholesterol. It's 100, the rhino's 90, the elephant's 110, horse is 140. And of course, the average American comes in with a total cholesterol of 209. So we nearly double what the elephant and the rhino basically are, because we don't eat foods that we're genetically designed to eat. We're not eating foods that we hunt and gather. In fact, we're eating foods that are processed that damage and change our genetics and hurt us in the long run versus eating foods that we're meant to eat. So with that being said, we'll talk about each one, LDL, triglycerides, and HDL, and I'll give you ways to lower the bad, the LDL and triglycerides, and raise the good, the HDL. So tip number one, and we'll go over each of these individually, but tip number one to lower your LDL is to change your diet and to reduce saturated fats and trans fats in your diet. That's tip number one. And tip number two is to exercise, 30 minutes of cardio most days of the week. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about tip number two, because tip number two is going to be all throughout the presentation. And so on exercise, if you are not exercising at all right now, and you're not an exerciser, and you don't think you're ever going to exercise in your life, I don't want people to, a lot of people will do this, like, okay, I'm going to start an exercise program. They drive to the gym. They do an hour, hour and a half of exercise, and then they drive home. That's not something that they're going to keep up. So I want people just to start doing something very small. Like, I want you to walk for 10 minutes a day for the purpose of exercise. So if you're not exercising now at all, I want you to go around the block once a day for the purpose of exercise. Make it 2 blocks if you need 2 blocks, but at least get 10 or 15 minutes of walking in every day of the week. That is going to be, that's going to be much better for you. Plug in here. Now let's say you are exercising. If you are exercising, that should take care of it. If you are exercising, and you've been exercising, let's say you've been walking your 2 miles in 30 minutes, or 40 minutes, however long it's been taking you, and you've been doing that for the last 5 years. That's great because you're actually getting exercise in, but so in those people what I would recommend is that you walk your brisk pace for the first 5 or 6 minutes, and then for 30 seconds to 1 minute, I want you to walk as fast as you can without running. And then go back to your brisk pace for 5 or 6 minutes, and then do 30 seconds to a minute as fast as you can without running. So the more exercise you can do, whether it's duration or intensity, is going to help your health, help your fitness level, and help your cholesterol. So if you're not exercising, at least get in 10 minutes a day. If you are, try to do some high-intensity intervals where you push harder for 30 seconds to a minute. If you cycle, 3 seconds as fast as you can on the cycle if it's a stationary bike, and then go back to your regular, pedaling rate. All those things are going to be beneficial to you and help you. And again, like I said, if you're not exercising, you don't have to do anything outrageous, because I really just want people to get in 10 minutes a day. If you work in an office building, get up and your knees can do it, walk the stairs for 5 minutes or walk around the building. And then so that's tip number 2, and that's going to be throughout the whole program. Tip number 3 to lower LDL cholesterol would be some prescription medicines. I'll go over some of those. And tip number 4 will be some of the supplements that I use that help to that I have seen in my patients that help to lower the LDL cholesterol. So first tip is the diet. I want everybody to think about how many saturated fats that they've had in their diet, even today or yesterday. So saturated fat, it's going to be your cheese, your creams, some of the dairy products, your ice creams, your milk other than skim, butter, marbled cuts of meat, sausage, obviously, ground beef, bacon, poultry, just like the skin of the poultry. And even like baked goods will have, because they have eggs and butter, so like your cookies, cakes, and pies, you're going to have eggs and butter, they're going to have some saturated fats in them. Just kind of start thinking about how many saturated fats that you've had, even today or yesterday. And then fats also raise LDL cholesterol, and those trans fats are basically when manufacturers put hydrogen in products to make them last longer on the store shelves. So it's usually things that are in boxes like crackers and baked goods as well, obviously donuts, french fries. Those things will have trans fats in them. And you've probably before, but I always tell my patients the healthiest thing about a donut is the middle, right, when there's nothing in it. I'm not talking about those that are filled with jelly, but I'm talking about the round donuts that have no middle to them, because they're not healthy for you. So one of the things that we need to do is when we're thinking, oh my gosh, well, what can I eat, and what should I eat, and all the breakfast ever, I want us to kind of retrain our brain. So what helps people is like when you see this plate, some people that love saturated fats would say, wow, I can't wait to have this breakfast. But what we need to do is we need to retrain our brains to think, okay, hey, these eggs are good. If I limit my yolks to no more than 4 a week, I'll be okay here. These eggs are good. But other than that, everything else I'm eating is going to clog my arteries. It's going to cause energy drain. I'm going to be tired and fatigued. I'm going to feel blah. My stomach's going to feel heavy. And about an hour and a half after this meal, I'm going to have to take a nap or be a little less motivated to do things. Instead, you take the eggs here and you put along the side, a cup of mixed berries or eat whatever fruit you want, whether it's apples or peaches or blueberries or strawberries or blackberries or raspberries, and you put some of that along here. And even if you put some vegetables over here, or if you made an omelet and you added like bell peppers and asparagus and mushrooms and whatever kind of vegetables you like, and you put it in the eggs, then you have color. You have vegetables and protein, and then you have fruit. And those things are going to give you energy. So if you're looking for energy boost, we got to get away from eating all these saturated and trans fats and eat protein and color, fruits and vegetables. We also, when we see a plate like this, we've got to think that it's going to raise my bad cholesterol, it's going to lower my good cholesterol, it's going to raise my triglycerides, which are bad cholesterol, it's going to cause arterial damage, it's going to damage my artery walls, and it's going to lead to plaque buildup. So we can't, eat things like this all the time because we're going to end up with huge health issues. So besides diet and getting rid of some of these saturated fats and working on having lean proteins and fruits and vegetables each of our meals, there are some medicines that will help lower LDL cholesterol. If you have specific questions over these medicines, I'd be happy to help you, but so feel free to ask. But atorvastatin is Lipitor, simvastatin is Zocor, rosuvastatin is Crestor, pravastatin is Pravachol. Those are some of the top, probably 4 that we use. Atorvastatin and rosuvastatin, Lipitor and Crestor are the top 2 that I use the most in practice. They are 2 of the most effective at lowering LDL cholesterol, and even at higher doses lowering even some of the triglycerides. So I do use statin medicines quite a bit, particularly if you have plaque or known plaque. If you don't have plaque or known plaque, it would have to depend on family history and what your cholesterol looks like before I would recommend a statin medicine. But if you do have plaque, every clinical way your plaque could appear, whether that's in a stroke form, a heart attack form, or in your legs, like a claudication form, statins have been known to reduce that event. So every clinical way your plaque could appear, statins have been known to reduce it, and it's been in multiple studies. So for people with plaque, I would highly recommend a statin, as long as there's no issues in taking the statin medicine. If you don't have plaque, then we've got time to look at other avenues, resources, diet, weight loss, supplements, etc. Another prescription is ezetimibe, and that is a cholesterol absorption inhibitor. It inhibits the absorption of cholesterol, and it works very well in lowering LDL cholesterol. Sometimes in people that cannot tolerate statins, a statin medicine, Lipitor, Crestor, Zocor, Pravachol, for whatever reason, we will give them Zetia by itself. Or if the cholesterol is really high and it's not controlled or where we would like it to be on the statin medicine, in addition to the statin medicine, we add the Zetia, and they do great together. The statin and the cholesterol absorption inhibitor Zetia do great together in lowering cholesterol. Another form that we use less often is the bile acid sequestrin. And it doesn't lower LDL as efficiently as the statin medications or the cholesterol absorption inhibitor. So we usually use that as an add-on. So if we can't get someone to goal, call, or if someone can't tolerate a statin or can't tolerate Zetia for whatever reason, we'll add on a well call. So these are some of the medications that we use to lower cholesterol. If you have specific questions, feel free to send them in. Next, I'll talk about supplements. So this is tip number 3 is the medications, the prescription medications, and tip number 4 is supplements. And a lot of people have asked me, Becky, what supplements do you use and why do you use them? CardioTabs I use frequently, and it's 2 capsules a day. And the reason why I use it is because it does more than just lower, well, it does more than, support your healthy cholesterol. It does help lower cholesterol. I've seen that in my patients. But it's known to support your immune system. It naturally increases your metabolism. And then it also supports the healthy cholesterol, or healthy LDL cholesterol, for that matter. And I've seen great results with my patients with the CardioTabs. It is 2 capsules a day. The next supplement that I will use is CardioTabs, and either I'll use it, again, I'll use these with a statin medicine, or I'll use them if people don't have plaque and their cholesterol is up and we have time to get their cholesterol down. I'll use these supplements, and plant sterols or CardioTabs, they also promote healthy cholesterol levels. You need at least 1,500 milligrams of the plant sterols, and you take them with food, and it prevents the absorption of cholesterol as well. And that would be 3 of the CardioTabs capsules if you're going to take the CardioTabs plant sterol. And the last supplement that I use frequently, and it is one of the most over-the-counter lipid-lowering agents that I use, is the red yeast rice. So with red yeast rice, this should not be taken with a statin medication. It should not be taken with a statin medication because what red yeast rice is, it's really interesting. Years ago, 800 years ago, they were looking for ways to lower cholesterol. And they learned that in China, there was a fungus that was growing on rice that turned the rice red, and the people that ate that actually had less cholesterol. So they took this fungus, and it's from a yeast fungus is what it's from, and it found actually that the ingredient called monocolin K. And monocolin K is what's in statin medicines. It's actually what lovastatin is. So, you know, the problem with some of these over-the-counter ready-use rice you have to be really careful for is that they contain too much of it. It can be toxic. So for each like 600 milligrams, that they're going to get like 2.5 milligrams of the monocolin K. So you're going to get like a very low dose of the monocolin K, and it's almost like taking a low dose of statin med. So you want to be careful because some products can be very toxic. They can contain way too much monocolin K, or they can have citrulline in it, which can cause kidney failure. So you don't want to take any products with ready-use rice that has citrulline in it. So be careful which product you use. I personally use the ready-use rice from CardioTabs. And you know, if you're looking at different products, definitely make sure you buy them in the USA and that they don't have citrulline in them. It's recommended that you take 2 to 4 capsules a day. 1 capsule, really, you won't see much change in the cholesterol and your cholesterol values. But it does really, ready-use rice does really support healthy LDL cholesterol levels, and you'll be quite surprised on your results with the ready-use rice. I start out usually with 2 capsules a day, and then after 4 or 6 weeks, I'll usually go to 4 capsules a day. And again, we don't take the ready-use rice, the over-the-counter CardioTabs ready-use rice with statin medicine. So to lower LDL, we're basically going to change our diet, decrease saturated fats and trans fats in our diet. We're going to get in our exercise. We're going to, there's options of prescription medicines if needed, and there's options for these supplements. So 4 simple ways to lower your LDL cholesterol. Next, I'll talk about the tricks with triglycerides. Triglycerides are basically, like I said, the carbs and sugars that you consume 3 or 4 days before your lab draw. And so think about, for instance, a soda. Let's say you had a soda the day before you had your lab draw. It's going to show up under your triglycerides. If you added soda a day to what you're currently drinking or eating, if you add a soda a day, or if you weren't drinking a soda and you started drinking a soda a day, you would gain, just by that change alone, you would gain 17 pounds of weight every year that you add a soda. You'd increase your risk of obesity by 60%. You'd increase your risk of diabetes by 40%. And then this is what your blood looks like when you have high triglycerides in your system, high carbs and sugars. So this is a patient's blood from here to here. Okay, this is a tube from here to here. This is the triglycerides on top, all that white matter. Down here on this middle one, the tube's got some substance in it at the bottom. So that's the tube, but this is where the blood starts, right where my arrow is, and it goes all the way to the top. That's the patient's blood. So all of this is carbs and sugars. That's what the patient is pushing through his arteries, his or her arteries. That's what they're even pushing through the brain, little brain arteries. So some of these things that I'm telling you today, we're also going to help prevent dementia, not just heart disease and not just lower cholesterol, but prevent dementia, because anytime you're pushing all this sludge through, you're nicking the artery walls. And when you nick an artery wall, even normal cholesterol can get in there and start to form plaque. So we really want to be careful. We really want to make sure that we get our triglycerides under control, because this person's body, its blood, is begging for antioxidants from fruits and vegetables and to cut back on the carbs and sugars. And again, here's triglycerides at the top on this blood. So how do you lower triglycerides? There's 3 simple tips. Limit or cut out simple carbs and sugars on a daily basis. We got to think about how many carbs and sugars that you've consumed today. Did you have a bagel? I think a lot of people don't realize this. With wheat bread, breaks down quicker to sugar than a Snickers bar. Yes, wheat bread will break down quicker to sugar than a Snickers bar. So we've got to think about how many breads we're eating, how many bagels and muffins. I mean, we're turning into a carbitarian world, but that's not what we're genetically designed to do. So we've got to cut back on carbs and sugars. When you look at your plate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you should see a lean protein and fruits and vegetables. Lean protein and fruits and vegetables, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So definitely cut out carbs and sugars in your diet, and that would include, like orange juice. Fruit juices are just loaded with sugar. You're better off having an orange. You're better off eating an apple than to have the juice. A lot of people think that dried fruit is healthy, but your raisins and plums and apricots and all those dried fruits are loaded with sugar. So we need to cut out all those sugars. Chips, are carbohydrates that will break down to sugar. So it's all about cutting out those simple carbs and sugars. And number 6 was also the exercise. We already went over exercise. And number 7, a tip for helping optimize your cholesterol is to take fish oil. Now, if you have high triglycerides, you will want to take 2 to 4 grams of fish oils per day to help assist with lowering your triglyceride level. So you need a higher dose of fish oils to lower triglycerides. You just don't need your standard dose of 1 gram a day or 1,000 milligrams a day. To lower triglycerides, you need 2 to 4 grams or 2,000, 4,000 milligrams. That will help to lower your cholesterol. This talks about the American Heart Association, what they recommend for omega-3 fatty acids to lower triglycerides. And down here, patients needing triglyceride lowering, that's the 2 to 4 grams of the EPA and DHA. I know somebody had asked a question about flaxseed, taking flaxseed oil tablets versus fish oil tablets. Well, flaxseed oil has the alpha-linoleic acid in it, which is a form of omega-3. But the omega-3, the omega-3s that have been known to be heart protective and lower triglycerides are your EPA and DHA. And flaxseed oil takes about 10 to 15 times the amount to make 1 DHA molecule. And so if you want to have flaxseed just because you think it's healthy and sprinkle some on your salad to get a healthy crunch, that's fine. But it doesn't replace fish oil because fish oil has the EPA and DHA in it that you need to support your overall health, as well as the American Heart Association recommendations for triglyceride lowering, which would be 2 to 4 grams of the EPA and DHA. So think about that. So flaxseed oil is healthy, but it does not replace fish oil. Last, I'm going to talk about HDL cholesterol. And on your HDL cholesterol, talk about, I think we all remember on HDL cholesterol where we should be, men should be above what, 45, and women should be above 55. So the higher the better. It's HDL, so it's happy. You want a high amount of it. So men above 45, women above 55. And the things that raise HDL is going to be exercising. And like I said, do the same thing. If you're not exercising, start at 10 minutes a day and just do your 10 minutes every day. You will notice a difference if you're going from no exercise to that. If you're exercising and doing 30 minutes all the time and you've done that for the last 5 years, add those intervals. Because duration and intensity is going to help raise your HDL cholesterol. Tip number 9 is if you're smoking, stop. Not only is smoking a deal breaker on your health, it will lower your HDL, your good cholesterol. So if you're smoking, you need to stop smoking. There's so many different things available. We're actually at the Cardio Wellness Center where I work, we're going to have a smoking cessation class coming up in October and in January. And the program that we're using has a 66 at not just stopping smoking, but retaining the cessation. So if you're interested in that, just email CardioTabs and we can get that taken care of. So we want to make sure that we can get you signed up for that class. But smoking is a deal breaker for your health. Tip number 10 is weight loss. So if you're overweight and you need to lose weight, that will actually raise your HDL once you lose weight. It's interesting, though, when you first do it, the HDL will go down first, but as you maintain the weight loss, it will come up. So to raise your good cholesterol, we need to exercise. If you're smoking, stop smoking. And if you're overweight and you need to lose weight, even 5 to 10 pound weight loss, you will see a rise in the HDL as you maintain it. And as a bonus tip, they have over-the-counter nicotinic acid or Duracin you can buy over the counter, and that will also raise your good cholesterol, your HDL cholesterol. So those are the top 10 tips. I want to add information on another product called Coenzyme Q10. It's the newest product of CardioTabs, but it's gotten a lot of fielded a lot of calls and questions in regards to Coenzyme Q10, such as when do I take it? How does statins change my coenzyme Q10 levels, and how much do I take? And so I thought I would mention this, since we're talking about cholesterol, is that coenzyme Q10, we all have it in our bodies. It's an antioxidant that we all have in our bodies. As we age, we get less of it. And there have been some studies that show that patients on statin medicines, that statins deplete their normal amount of coenzyme Q10. So we do recommend the coenzyme Q10, and particularly some people that have muscle aches and pains on statins, it could be from a low coenzyme Q10 level. And so if we stop with the statin for a couple of weeks, start the coenzyme Q10, re-add the statin, many people can tolerate it. So that's an option. It also supports our healthy energy production. So the coenzyme Q10 has a lot to do with how we produce energy in our cells. So this supports our healthy energy production. The CardioTabs, though, is formulated with a high absorption rate. Many of the over-the-counter coenzyme Q10, because I was telling my patients before to take 300 to 400 milligrams because you can't absorb it. It needs a lot of fat in it to absorb it, a lot of oil. So that's why this capsule is a bigger capsule with a lot of oil in it to help with absorption. Now, I do want to say, if you're taking fish oils, you need to take fish oils and coenzyme Q10 8 to 10 hours apart because they are fighting for the same receptor on the cells. So one is going to win out. One will get in, and the other will not. So if you're taking fish oils and coenzyme Q10, you need to take it about 8 to 10 hours apart. And we do recommend you take coenzyme Q10 with your meal because it'll get more absorption when you take it with a meal where it's getting some fat. So with that being said, here's the top 10 ways to optimize your cholesterol. Decrease your saturated fat and trans fats in your diet. Exercise about 30 minutes of cardio most days of the week. If you're not doing anything, start at 10. Just get 10 minutes in a day. There are prescription medicines that are available to lower your bad cholesterol and triglycerides for that matter. There are supplements that you can take for lowering your LDL cholesterol and your triglycerides. For triglyceride lowering, decrease simple carbs and sugars, start or increase your exercise, and high-dose fish oils. And for HDL raising, it's exercise again, smoking cessation, and weight loss. And it's interesting, exercise has to do with all three of those. If we could even do 10 minutes of exercising a day, we would substantially improve our health. If you need help getting your cholesterol goal, if you're frustrated, you don't know how to get there, you haven't had good results in the past, you need some help, Cardio Wellness Center, that's actually a picture of me there at the Cardio Wellness Center. That's our job. Our job is to look at your risks, potential and existing risks, and then develop a plan that fits you, your needs, and your lifestyle. So if you need some help getting there, feel free to call us so we can help get you at optimal cholesterol values and optimize your health. There's a question that came in, and I get a lot of this about, do fish oils really cause prostate cancer, and what is that all about? I just want to first explain this, is that in the study, it was not a study that the media got a hold of. It was not a study that said, okay, we're going to give this side of people fish oil and this side no fish oil and see what happens. That's not what happened. They followed a cohort of men for a few years. And then when they followed these men, at the end of following them, they said, hey, there was a certain group of men had prostate cancer, a certain group of men did not. And so 834 men ended up with prostate cancer, and like 1,400 did not have prostate cancer. So then they decided, oh, let's look at their blood work and let's see what their omega-3 index were. Okay, and again, they were omega-3 supplements. They were just saying, okay, let's just see the level of omega-3 do they have in their bloodstream. And when they used a standardized statistical method, basically it showed that it was statistically significant when they used their method of looking at are the numbers statistically significant. The numbers were, but it told us nothing because in the cancer group, the omega-3 index was 3.6%, and then non-prostate cancer group, it was 3.62%. These percentage, omega-3 index, both of them, are as they were not taking any fish oil or eating any fish. That would be like what you and I would have if we really weren't eating or taking any supplements. All right? The omega-3 levels in Japanese men are between 8 and 10%, and they eat 8 times the amount of fish that American men do, and they have 1/6 the processed American men do. Our omega-3 levels should be at 8% or higher. That's what we recommend. So in both groups, it's as if they took no fish oils or ate any fish. But when they did their normal statistical calculation method, the numbers were statistically significant, but clinically it tells us nothing. So absolutely do not stop taking your fish oils. Absolutely take your fish oils. And actually, if you are at a 3.6%, you need more fish oil and eat more fish. So hopefully that clarifies what the media kind of got a hold of and kind of scared us with. Lastly, we have a healthy happy hour. It's free to the public. If you're here in Kansas City, we'd love to have you there. It's on October 7th. We have Dr. Cordain as well as CardioTabs Dr. O'Keefe coming, and they'll both be speaking on healthy diet and hunter-gatherer lifestyle. And I will just if you want it on your next CardioTab orders, if you call in the next 2 weeks and use the word optimize, you'll save 15% on your CardioTabs order. And I'll take questions. Let me see that answer. No, there was another question about how do type 2 diabetics keep their cholesterol lower than normal, which is expected by the medical community. So basically, to lower that's absolutely right. If you're a diabetic, we treat you as if you've had a heart attack. So we want your LDL then under 70, just like we want an LDL under 70 for people that had heart disease or peripheral vascular disease. And again, you're going to have to cut back on saturated fats, trans fats in your diet, and have exercise, use supplements, and prescription medication. But we can get you there. If you need help, feel free to call us, but we can definitely get you there. Again, it's watching your saturated trans fats, exercise, prescription medicines, supplements, all of that will be beneficial. Weight loss will be beneficial. Diabetics usually have higher triglycerides, so you might have to go with the higher omega-3 fish oils because diabetics tend to eat more carbs and sugars unless you've gotten really good at cutting back on carbs and sugars. And then how do you exercise at cardio rates with asthma? Well, I would encourage people with asthma to exercise indoors and not outdoors. And you might have to do smaller, like 5-minute increments where you do the intensity levels at 5 minutes versus go, 30 minutes of walking. You might have to do 5 minutes, and 30 seconds of those 5 minutes, you're going to get more intense exercise, and you might have to do that 2 or 3 times a day. But again, definitely going to have to exercise indoors, going to have to get your asthma under control, get an asthma specialist to help you get your asthma under control. Those are some quick and easy thoughts, but if you have specific needs, feel free to call us as well. I think that's it, Erin, unless you have more questions that came in.
No, we don't have any more questions. Great job, Becky. Thank you. And as she said, go ahead. You can use that code for the next 2 weeks and save 15% off your CardioTabs order. I hope you enjoyed the webinar. A recording of this will be made, so feel free to send it to any friends or anyone you think who could benefit from this knowledge. We appreciate it, and look for the recording. Should be coming here either later today or by the end of the week. Again, thank you for attending, and I hope you got some good information out of this.